Good afternoon. My name is Ann Walsh, and I'm with the San Francisco League of Women Voters. We're here this afternoon to give you some information on the ballot measures on the upcoming November 7th ballot. Today we will be discussing Proposition A, which is the branch library bonds. After we're done with this, we will have another discussion on Proposition O, so please stay tuned for that. First, we're going to start with the library proposition, which is A. I have with me today Dale Carlson, who is chairman of the Friends and the Foundation of the San Francisco Public Libraries, and I have James Chafee on the opposition side from Save Our Libraries. We're delighted to have both these gentlemen with us today. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the proposition, then I will give each of the gentlemen a chance to state their case in a minute and a half, and then we will proceed to a discussion where we hope you can get enough information to help you make your choice in November. Proposition A is a $106 million bond issue. The purpose of it is to help our libraries. It was placed in the ballot by an unanimous vote of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. To be approved, it needs a 2/3 majority of the voters. It's basically going to fund improvements on 19 of our 26 libraries. It will replace 4 libraries, which are now in lease space, and they will go into city-owned facilities. It will construct a new branch in the Mission Bay area, which will serve both the Mission Bay area and also the 3rd Street corridor. It will also develop a space for an archives in Brooks Hall, in the downtown area, the Civic Center area, I should say, and have a processing center where we could take care of ordering books and things like that. In addition to that, the other libraries will receive a number of improvements, mainly in the seismic upgrading area and also allowing for disability access and technology improvements. In addition, the library hopes to get approximately $10 million from a state fund that was put aside for purposes like this. The total cost of this bond measure, as I said before, is almost $106 million. In addition, there would be $85 million in interest payments according to the controller, which adds up to $191 million. For you, the voter, or for you, the homeowner, property owner, with an average property of a home, let's say worth $300,000, this would be a payment of approximately $40 per year. If this is approved, it would increase the debt ratio that San Francisco has up to 2.75%, which is below the 3% that we are allowed to float bonds for. If it's passed, we will start planning immediately, and in the next year, in 2001, and we will complete the process in 2009. First, I'd like to have Dale give us the proponents' positions on this.
Thanks, Ann. I think you did a very good job of laying out in great detail what the bond is all about and how it's going to be used. I would simply say that we have been renovating branch libraries in San Francisco for the past 10 years or so. We have renovated 5 so far. We have built one new one, which was Ocean View. We opened it in June. It's the first new library that the city has constructed in more than 65 years. This bond provides funding so that we can renovate all of the branch libraries in San Francisco, seismically upgrade them so that they're safe, make them handicapped accessible, which many of them are not, provide more space for children's programming, and enhance their electrical systems so that we can bring in more technology and so that the library can continue its efforts to bridge the digital divide, particularly for our young people. We think it's an enormously valuable opportunity that the voters have to make an investment in the health and well-being of their communities, as well as in the future. The branch libraries that we have today, some of them have been around since 1904. They're old. Some of them haven't been touched since they were originally opened. They are not accessible. They don't function the way they could. We think this is a great opportunity for San Francisco to make an investment in its future.
Thank you very much, Dale. All right, James, we'd like you to give us the opponent's position in this, please.
Thank you very much, Ann, and I'm delighted to do that. I'm here because I care deeply that San Francisco should have the libraries it deserves. real libraries, libraries with books and librarians. I believe that trying to pass Proposition A at this point in time would send a dangerously wrong message. It would send a message that San Francisco doesn't care about the commitments to its libraries. In 1988, San Francisco was promised a new main that would provide for increases in book storage over a 30-year period. It was also promised that every branch would be remodeled. What it got was a library that was full the day it opened. It saw books taken to the dump, and it saw that only 5 branches were renovated with that money. In 1994, San Francisco voted for Prop E, and they were promised books and hours. What they got was bloated administration, and hours have not increased in our branches for the past 5 years. I believe that San Francisco wants libraries, and this would send a message that it's better to throw money at a problem than to think about it. And only politicians are the ones who believe that. Everyone else believes it is better to sit down, decide what kind of libraries we want, and pay for those reasonable improvements that are necessary with general fund money and with firm guarantees that we're going to get what we pay for.
Thank you, James. I have a number of questions I'd like to pose to these two gentlemen, and hopefully this will further clarify this for us so we can make a reasoned decision in November. The first one, and you're welcome to comment after it, is for Dale. I've talked to a number of people. They say we've got a big surplus. If we have such a surplus, why are we going back to the people for additional funding for this project?
For a bond, rather than paying it out of the general fund?
Correct.
This is going to be a multi-year project. It's probably going to take the library 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years to complete the renovation work and the new construction for all these branch libraries. It's true we have a very healthy budget surplus today. Is that going to last next year? I don't know. If you can make that guarantee to me, if you can make a guarantee that the city will be able to fund this project as long as it's required to bring it to completion out of its general fund, well, then we wouldn't need a bond. But I don't think anyone is prepared to make that guarantee. And this is the way San Franciscans have traditionally funded capital improvements in San Francisco.
Do you have any comments on that, James?
I certainly do. If you compare the real needs that are found in this bond, and there are a few real needs, there are in fact 3 seismic 4s. Those should be addressed right away.
3 seismic, I'm sorry.
3 seismic 4s. Seismic 4 is a technical term that means that the building would actually be in danger of collapsing in a major earthquake. I think we should address those immediate needs that we can. But there are not $106 million of real needs. We should address the real needs with general fund money and then pay as we go for other needs that are identified.
Well, I couldn't disagree with you more. I mean, there are 15 of the 19 branches that we're going to renovate that are classified as 3 or 4. 4 is the most serious classification. 3 is pretty serious. Of the 4 that are of the 3 that are rated Class 4, they hosted 500,000 patron visits last year. And simply focusing on those 3 doesn't give the rest of the neighborhoods in San Francisco the opportunity to enjoy quality library service the way the folks in Chinatown and the Mission and in Ocean View are enjoying because of the work we've done in those branch libraries. We need to make this commitment. We need to start this process. The sooner we do, the sooner every San Francisco community is going to have quality library service.
James, you mentioned Prop E before.
Yes.
And you said that there were some problems with that because it didn't really deliver what you had anticipated it might.
Yes.
Is the fact that it requires the city to keep open all its 26 branches, is that going to be a problem for us today? Is that one of the reasons we're addressing this need for funding, that we have so many branches open?
Well, I mean, I certainly feel that this is a situation where we have seen the priorities for the Prop E money diverted from what I think the people were guaranteed. But when we look at the operating funds, Mr. Carlson, I'm sure, will admit that we don't know what impact this new Prop A is going to have on the operating funds?
Oh, I think I have a very good sense of what it's going to have. I have a very good sense of what Prop E has meant for the library. I was on the commission for 5 years when we struggled year after year after year to deal with budget cuts mandated by the mayor's office. I know exactly the situation that we were trying to address with Proposition E. Proposition E said you have to keep all 26 branches open. You can't threaten to close them any longer. Proposition E said the library has to provide a minimum of 1,028 hours of public service. The library is providing 1,172 hours of public service. Proposition E said you have to spend more money on books. The year before Proposition E passed, the library's book budget was about $1.5 million. Now it's $4.2 million. And the library is one of those wonderful government programs where if you actually give it more money, it does a better job. You know, more people use it. More people check out books. There are more books to be checked out. I think, you know, the history of bond measures and Proposition E and providing more city funding for libraries in this town has been one of the most positive experiences of any city government agency.
I don't think you really addressed James' comment, though, about is this renovation going to increase operating costs significantly?
I think it could very well decrease the library's operating costs. I mean, the library has to spend a fair amount of money every year on maintenance for buildings that are, in some cases, in pretty poor shape. That money can be used elsewhere to fund more librarians, to fund more books. I think the library's operating costs for these buildings could actually go down.
I want to address an issue that Mr. Carlson raised because I think it is, in fact, the crucial issue on this bond. What has been our experience with bond issues for the library? And the public needs to decide that. I feel that if the citizens of this city look at the history of what they've been promised and what they've got, they will realize that bond funding without those controls that expenditures from the general fund provide leads to waste, leads to misdirection. And in fact, what we've seen is that the library is given bond funds, they do something else with it, and they come back again and again I'm sorry, I've been distracted. For the same thing, they come back and are asked for more bond funds to fund the same thing. That's what the experience has been.
Dale, do you know how to answer that question that James raised about what sort of controls there are to assure that the funds are spent for what the voters are indicating?
There's regular oversight by the Board of Supervisors, by the controller, by the budget analyst. Every contract that's let on every branch has to be approved by the Board of Supervisors, the budget analyst, the controller. There are regular reports that are prepared on a monthly basis on each branch project that go to the highest levels of government and that are available to the Board of Supervisors and to the Commission, and those are all subject to public review and public comment.
Sounds like it's pretty complete. I have a question. I know when we had the main library before us, there was a lot of questions on exactly what it would house. Mm-hmm. Two of the things in this proposition provide for an archives at Brooks Hall and also a processing center.
Right.
Why weren't these part of the original main library? It seems like they would be functions that would fit in well there.
Well, the archive was not originally part of the plans for the new main library. The archival requirements for the library really became acute when City Hall closed for renovation. And all the city departments had all these files piled up from years and years and years and said, what are we going to do with them? Oh, let's send them to the library. They're the official city archive. So we've got a lot of material in Brooks Hall that's not as accessible as it might be, and this bond provides some money to renovate Brooks Hall to function as that purpose.
And the processing center?
The processing center is something that is housed in the main, that services the main and all of the branches. It's where we bring in new books, process new books, and ship them out to the branches. And the space isn't working quite as well as it could and could probably be more suited for Brooks Hall.
But Anne, if I may point out, you're quite right. These were situations that were intended to be handled by the main. And so in fact, what we're paying for here are overflow functions that should have been provided for in the main, and we're now asked for more bond funds to fill those functions.
Maybe one of the things you could answer, I know in some of the arguments that you put forth in the ballot, you said you felt that the manner this was placed in the ballot didn't allow enough public input. Would you care to
Oh,
tell
yes.
us why you feel that
Yes,
way?
as a matter of fact, this was rushed through City Hall in a helter-skelter manner. In fact, if you look at the resolution that the Board of Supervisors passed to put this on the ballot, they had to suspend some time requirements in the administrative code to get this on the ballot in time. So, and that's part of our complaint about the insufficient planning for this.
I don't
And
know
in
how you
fa-
can say that. We have been studying the needs of the branch library since 1988. We did a comprehensive assessment then. We did another one in 1992. We did another one in 1995. We have been aiming for this bond for this set of projects for a dozen years. And the people of San Francisco have been expecting it for at least that long. I don't know how you can say it was rushed through.
Well, I
The
mean, that,
documentation on this that supports this bond is an inch thick.
right, but it's not a branch plan. I mean, it's a stack of paper. But as Ann said in the introduction to this panel discussion, the planning is scheduled to start after the Board of Supervisors receives a gift to start that process in October.
Right,
So
intention-
the planning has not started, and we don't know what we're going to get with this.
Oh, I know. I think we know very well what we're going to get with this. We're going to get $105.8 million in public bond funds to support the renovation and construction of branch libraries in this town. We're going to get a commitment from the Friends and Foundation of the Public Library to raise $15 million in private capital to augment those public funds. We're going to get a very competitive project to submit to the state
Dale,
that could
I
bring
think
in
I'm
another
gonna have
$10 million.
Sort of wrap this up. I'm getting signals back here, but
Okay.
I think you all put forth some great ideas, and I would like to give you both an opportunity for a 30-second wrap-up.
Well, I would go back to my original opening statement. This is about kids. This is about the handicapped. This is about seismic safety. This is about the digital divide. This is about the future of San Francisco. Branch libraries make an enormous difference in the quality of life in our communities. They make an enormous difference to the character of neighborhoods, to public safety, to public education, and this bond deserves an overwhelming vote of approval.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Ann.
James?
Yes, I want to reiterate that there's no plan, and there's, based on the performance we've seen in the past, no guarantee that people are going to get what they want. But the people involved in this have already tipped their hand. At the last commission meeting I attended, the discussion of these branches called for, quote, modernization and for, quote, very self-service branches. But the people don't want very self-service branches. They want libraries with books and librarians. Please don't lose control of your libraries. Please vote no on Proposition A.
Thank you, James. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. The League of Women Voters is very happy to bring this information to you. We hope that it helps you in making your decisions. Please remember to vote on November 7th, and we hope you'll stay tuned for a discussion of Prop O, the campaign financing measure. Thanks a lot.